we don't know true silence. And this came to light a few weeks ago during a trip with family and friends. We stayed in a cabin out in the middle of nowhere, about an hour from Zion National Park in Utah. And Ashley, a friend of the family, mentioned that even though our little sanctuary was quiet compared to our normal everyday lives, the airways were still inundated with noise. And so we sat there for a little while, paying attention and listening in on, all the sounds that surrounded us. Planes as they went overhead, what seemed like every 10 minutes or so. And I realized for the first time that even 10,000 feet up, you could hear a plane's engine echoing through the canyons. Cars from the 2-lane road out in the distance could be heard as if they were a few feet away. It was fascinating. Even while staying in a location as remote as ours, we weren't alone. We never experienced total silence. Apparently, there are only a few places in the world where this type of silence exists, and Ashley briefly mentioned them, citing an article she'd recently come across. And I just found the whole thing more and more interesting. It never dawned on me before, the extent to which noise and complexity surrounded us. My normal is one of chaos. Subtle chaos, sure, but chaos nonetheless. You may be wondering, where am I going with this idea? Well, I found value in the understanding that we consistently operate in such an extreme level of commotion, right? We've learned to navigate consistent noise penetrating our existence and our lives, but we haven't really learned how to separate ourselves from it. There is always buzzing, humming, and shaking as we go about our day-to-day. We're so intertwined with our surroundings that even when we seek solitude, we're unable to totally remove ourselves or pull ourselves from the noise. And to me, that weekend was just an incredible reminder of the importance, the significance of remembering to separate ourselves from the world from time to time. The value of truly being alone with our thoughts, shielding ourselves from the externalities. It's not that we have to exist in total silence and solitude, somewhere like northern Washington, which I believe is one of the locations from the article Ashley cited as one of our quietest locations. It's more so that we must realize the world around us is constantly seeking to inundate every thought with impressions and ideas and stories and other noise. The world around us is constantly seeking to influence. That's the $1 million point. Right? Even when we don't realize it, we are navigating ideas, engines, and electronics. There is always something placed between who we are and what's most important to us. And it's imperative that we recognize that. See, peace will never fall out of the sky and land at our doorsteps. It must be sought out. The curtains covering who we truly are must be pulled back. And without this concentrated effort, life, simply moves us down the stream of life. Well, we assume it was our own swimming that created the change. Control requires separation from the everyday. And so here's to making time to truly separate ourselves from what doesn't matter so that we can focus on what does. To identifying the noise so that we can, when necessary, remove ourselves from it. It is by knowing true silence that we truly know ourselves. And that's a relationship that is invaluable.
It's in our moments of greatest distress that we must find it within ourselves to see that which is difficult to see. It's when things seem hopeless, tragic. It's when we feel lost that we forget a universal truth. Behind every struggle, no matter how big, there is a win, an answer, an opportunity for recreation. See, it's very easy in the midst of a storm to forget that it will pass. The dark skies block out the light, so we forget the warmth of the sun. And the wind and the rain, it forces us inside, so we forget the perfection that is simply breathing in the cool air. We forget that all storms have one thing in common. They come and they go. They are temporary. And what they leave is hope, answers, the clearest, brightest of skies. See, I'm not asking you to see something that's not there. I'm not asking you to imagine or live a life of make-believe. I'm reminding you of what you already know exists behind those clouds. Better days, your solution, your victory. I'm asking you to look to precedent. Because every day leading up to now has had its adversity. The road to the current moment was paved with trials and tribulations, and what you've done every day until now is figure it out. Find a way. How many times do you have to prove to yourself that you have what it takes, that you'll be okay, that within the depths of your soul are answers to any and every problem that you face? I know things aren't easy. Maybe they even seem bigger, scarier, more overwhelming than they ever have. But as adversity grows, so does your resilience. And I'm not sitting here giving you something new or an answer you didn't already possess. All I'm doing is reminding you how incredible you are, how much you've already overcome, and how capable you are of conquering whatever is next. Sometimes in life, the difference between okay and great, or stagnation and growth, it is only a change in perspective. It is how you look at the world and your place within it. That little voice in your head reminding you that you are capable of things beyond your current comprehension, that your perceived best is a fraction of what you're capable of. Reality is manageable. It's always manageable. It's the fear that if we let it, will be our demise. And life's too short to bow down to a monster that doesn't even really exist, that we created ourselves. So let's commit to being the ones who find calm when others panic, and see opportunity where others see hardship, and see what can be gained when others remain fixated on what has been lost. I love to simplify, to find clarity in that which appears overwhelming and complex. So here's the formula. You minus negative thoughts equals infinite possibility. You are capable of handling anything life throws at you in terms of potential and resources and ability. You can overcome. The only thing that can make a situation debilitating or permanent is you deciding it so. Therefore, the obstacle will never be life. It will be your thoughts about life. Your thoughts determine how you react. That is reality. Is it a lost job? or an opportunity to begin again, to grow, to fall in love with something you've always wanted to do? Is it lost time, loneliness, tragic seclusion, or a chance to write chapter 1 of your book, scene 1 of your movie, lay the first brick of what will become your empire? I've been sad and I've been happy, and I've been broke and I've had money, and I've felt alone and I've felt loved. But through it all, every step, every trial, every tribulation, I've come out stronger, battle-hardened, cognizant of the fact that happiness was a choice. Money is reacquirable, that some people go, but the ones that matter stay a part of you forever. Life is a gift. It's a gift when things are hard. It is a gift when they are easy. It is always a gift. So don't let your losses define you. If you get back up, it is nothing short of a victory. Armor that you now wear as you make your way into the world. A world that can push you down, but it certainly can't keep you there. Not if you don't let it. For your mind, your body, your soul, made of the same elements that surround you, the same stars comprising the universe, they have equipped you to weather any storm, outlast any earthly dilemma, do anything and be anyone. Never forget that. Never forget who you are. If you want to be empowered, understand this. The world is indifferent to you. It's not an enemy, but it's not a friend either. It's a tool. The same way that attributing any type of motive to a hammer would be ridiculous, right? I've seen hammers build things and I've seen hammers destroy things. Well, the same can be said for the world around you. What it becomes is determined entirely by how you choose to utilize it. You know, there are things we learn as we navigate through life that change us. And one of the most critical for me was understanding that, yes, the world is indifferent to me, and no, I am not special. Doesn't mean I can't go do amazing things, help people, change the way things are. But if those results materialize, it will be because of what I made with what surrounds me. Not because of what the world owed me, or because I was special or deserving. No, it will be because I set my sights on something and pursued it. And so you ask, why is this empowerment? It's empowerment because it puts things into perspective, and perspective is power. It simplifies the road ahead. The bad things that happen, they are not personal. They don't mean the deck is stacked against you. And those good things, they are never guaranteed. Everything's a question of grit, of depersonalizing the lows in an effort to capture those fleeting highs. Life is not predetermined. Life is a game. A game that you have the ability to win, to leave this place better than you found it. But you're also capable of taking a different path, right? It's just as easy to highlight the flaws, to take on the role of a perpetual victim. The tools are there to do both. And so the question is, what will you do with what you have? Because it's not about where you start. It's not about where you came from. It's about choosing to look around you and say, I choose to be an architect. From this reality, I will build. I will contribute. I will go forth and conquer. When the walls cave in, it's not because you can't or shouldn't.
It's because sometimes in life, walls cave in. And now you choose whether to lay in the rubble or rise from the ashes. And this fork in the road, it's going to present itself many times. Right? The ones who get angry, who point out, who project blame, who will live very different lives than the ones who brush it off as an obstacle on the windy road that is life and press forward. You did not arrive here special, but you sure as hell can leave here special. The world may be indifferent, but you are not. If you're passionate, if you move forward with conviction, you'll become friends with the trials and allies with the tribulations. You'll see that growth only stops, not when an angry world around you decides it's so, but when you do. When your feet stop moving and your heart longs for the horizon no more. But until then, it's all systems go. Until then, you build. What is the difference? When I think back to the first time I deviated from my comfort zone, my routine, I lost the certainty in my life. And as much as I wanted to go back, I remember telling myself one more day, just one more day, until someday became the current day, and that made all the difference. Day one, starting my company, I remember turning the camera on and feeling so lost saying words into a microphone that I almost didn't press record. But I did. Until one day I realized not only was it bearable, it was my purpose. The vehicle that transported my thoughts to the world, and that made all the difference. During the times when some of the projects I invested the most time and energy into flopped, I remember almost saying, this isn't for me. But I kept creating. I kept creating until I found that intersection of what I love and what adds value to the world, and that made all the difference. What's crazy is how small a decision that difference seems in the moment, how insignificant the decision feels as one stands and looks out from their doorway. The difference between going and not going, stepping out or staying in, making the move or waiting one more day. That difference is sometimes disguised in a cloak of triviality, but do not be fooled. The little decision to move forward, to hang on when your ego is screaming at you to just let go, walk away, find some semblance of comfort and predictability. Those decisions to endure in the moments of hardship are what we come to look back on as the turning points that reshaped and redefined life as we know it. The courage required to make the call, release the video, register the business, send the message, reconnect with that loved one, deviate from what your friends are doing. All those things, they may seem small enough now to spend a minute or two thinking about before moving on to our routines and what we are comfortable doing. After all, it's easy to disregard the small things. But the acorn that becomes the oak tree is small. We must, along with the current reality, see the potential in what those things become. And sure, there are times where the present and the ideal are so different that it seems almost incomprehensible. But how do we get there? We get there by making the little decisions that will ultimately make the greatest difference. You are always one decision away from that evolution. So next time you find yourself looking down at the step in front of you, the step you know in your soul is the right step, remind yourself, yes, it sure would be easy to walk away here.
It sure would be easy to turn back. Yeah, it's just one tiny step. But in totality, it's exponentially more than that. It's the lifeblood of your new reality. The water to your sea, the oxygen to your lungs, the crossroads in front of you will be, with your permission, the beginning of something larger than life. It will ultimately be the difference. Every run tells a tale. All those streets, sidewalks, and paths paint a picture. Each footstep enshrines forever a moment in time that comes together to comprise the now. From my time in Cape Cod, Massachusetts, it was asking, why not? Why not find out if I could be a little faster than yesterday? My first dance with the clock. Waking up early, running up Snake Pond Road. Sun shining in my face, inhaling that crisp morning air. It was running along the canal, where the distance was precisely mapped out in paint on the ground below, tattooing a path that seemed to go for as long as I wanted to push forward. It taught me that we could do amazing things when we decided to, that we have more in us than we could ever imagine. In a sense, Cape Cod was my eyes opening up to the idea that what life gives us is directly correlated to what we ask of ourselves. So ask for a lot. In Boston, it was exploration. It was pushing myself harder and further, but also stretching my worldview wider, a time for transformation. It was beginning to see the mundane, the commonplace for the wolves in sheep's clothing that they are. I began exploring city streets like I simultaneously began exploring life's possibility. I saw how taking new routes often came with two distinct components. One, an unsettling, nervous feeling in my stomach, and two, an eventual gratitude for finding the courage to go there. The world will never tell you to go where you have not yet gone. It will never assign you a map and hand you keys, a plane, or a bus ticket. That desire must be cultivated internally. Boston was me realizing the unknown wasn't a border keeping me in. It was a hand extended. In Roanoke, Virginia, it was, in a sense, a rebirth. Moving away, post-college. Everything was new, was foreign, but everything was exciting. I had to learn who I was in new surroundings with new people. My Nike running shoes took me through woods, down side streets, into the heart of downtown. I ran and I ran and I ran. Because with all that change, it was one of the few constants in my life. It brought me to the realization that with so many moving pieces, so many things shuffling in and out, there are parts of me that are non-negotiable. That in life, it's okay and even necessary to change, but one should never lose themselves in that process. They call Roanoke the Star City of the South, for the giant glowing star that lights up on the mountain overlooking the city. Perhaps a reminder to never lose that North Star in our own lives. In South Florida, it was about connecting the dots. I'd been relentlessly doing, now it was seeing. Seeing myself as that person. as someone ready for more, worthy of a spot at the table, capable of creating monumental change. Those soft sand runs reinforce the notion that I get stronger when the world moves under my feet. Those hundreds of thousands of footsteps under the hot sun reiterated that I'm willing to do what is often deemed unnecessary or even over the top. And lastly, living in the luxury of no winter reminded me to appreciate the sun, the perks, the advantages, and the victories we collect along the way, but to never take them for granted, to be ready. Because life's winters don't always wait until after fall to show up at your doorstep. See, every step we take is a lesson. Every street, sidewalk, and path is part of a story. And sometimes we don't understand until we look back at the chapters. We don't get it until we have the luxury of hindsight. I didn't know that I'd look back on Snake Pond Road as sacred ground, as a launch pad to everything that would come next. No, in the moment, it was nothing more than a temporary escape from a world that felt bigger than me. I didn't know I'd see the city of Boston as the place that taught me to question the normalcy of everyday life, to show me that one could be moving awfully fast and still going nowhere at all. No, in the moment, it was merely a decision to dip my toe in the water, to entertain the curiosity and sense of adventure that always seemed a few feet ahead. I had no idea Roanoke, Virginia would be where I learned that, as Emerson said, to be yourself in a world constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment. That there are non-negotiables, and shining down above all the noise and intricacies of everyday life exists the path and the resources to become who you were meant to be. No, in the moment, I was simply stepping off my branch and landing somewhere new. I didn't know South Florida would be my consistent reminder to level up, to hold tightly that intersection of love and value, to find gratitude for what I have and maintain faith in bringing about what has not yet materialized. No, at the time, I was taking my life, my business, and my running shoes to warmer weather. You may not see it now, but your path, the one that led you to today, is the right path. You are exactly where you need to be for the beginning of your next adventure. But here's the thing. You must keep lacing up your shoes. Keep getting up in the morning and chasing those sunrises. Keep dreaming, growing. Keep your eyes, ears, and heart open. Because the world has so much to give you. But you have to allow your feet to carry you there. You have to give yourself permission to take it all in. The normalcy of right now, down the road, will end up being anything but normal. These steps are the steps that make you who you are, so own them. Believe in them, and most importantly, keep taking them. The will to do anything comes from within yourself. You define your goals, you map out the journey. In my mind, comparing yourself to your competitors or anyone else should never contribute to how you define yourself. What it should be used as is a tool to drive improvement, to push yourself to make the most of every little opportunity that comes your way. I heard a quote from Mark Cuban, and he said to work like someone is working 24 hours a day to take it all away from you. and I was giving this some thought. Obviously, it's a powerful message. And I started to apply it to my own situation. And the first thing that came to mind was running. It's something I do every day. A lot of the most important decisions I've made and ideas I've come up with have occurred while running. So I started to think about when I'm at my best, right? When I'm working out and truly pushing myself. Obviously, I set goals, right? I look to stretch my limits, my boundaries, and I can do that on my own. I really don't need anyone or anything. But when I truly excel is when I feel those footsteps behind me. When I know that if I don't speed up, someone will run by and leave me behind as they go on for a faster time. And this thought drives me insane. Look, I know it's just a run around the Charles River, right? I'm downtown Boston, I'm not at the Olympics. I get why it would seem a little crazy. But to me, it's the same thing as a race, starting a business, excelling at work. It's instilling the mentality that I will do whatever it takes to stay ahead, regardless of how it's perceived. Just like I do everything in my power to be that same way in all aspects of life. There are always footsteps behind me. That's how I push to stay at the top of my game. If you're not obsessed with getting better, at doing more than everyone else, you will be left behind. The sound of footsteps is a reminder that you haven't even scratched the surface of what you can do. That you can completely transform how you think of winning. And that's how you will get what you want. Listen, every morning when you wake up, you need to know that there are footsteps behind you, that 1 million people want what you want. They're waking up every day intent on doing what you do and are willing to put in the work. The best do that and then some, right? They step up, they're willing to go further, be crazy. Put everything out there for their goals. It doesn't matter how ridiculous it looks. Success is doing what it takes. And I know that's vague. I know there isn't, an answer written out in 10 steps. But you will find your way. You will stumble, you will fall. But if you truly have that tenacity to outrun, to outwork everyone else, the only thing left to do is win. Surprise yourself. Surprise everyone around you. They will be there, I promise. Only a step behind.